Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Tonight we are working on our Singer sewing machine embroidery pattern. This is our embroidery of the month, and I think we're going to get real close to finishing this guy today. So thanks for joining me here tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for the beginning crafter. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So thanks so much for joining me here. Yeah, let's get going on the embroidery of the month. So this is actually one half of it. The embroidery of the month this time comes with both of my sewing machines, my vintage sewing machines that I have here. So this is my Kenmore one. We finished that earlier in the week, and this is the vintage Singer sewing machine that we will maybe finish today. We're going to learn a couple new stitches on this. We'll be doing the Lazy Daisy stitch and the French knot, so we'll be working on those today. So thanks for joining me. Let's get going. All right, hello everyone. So here are our two guys that we're working on here. So this guy's done. We just have to take the stick and stitch stabilizer off. That's that sticker with the pattern on that we stuck on here. We'll do that tomorrow once we're done finished with this guy. So I got my little needle minder on here. We finished all the black and we finished the red or the orange yesterday. So we'll be working on the rest of it. I think we're going to start with the gray. So I do have my pattern here. This is the one that we're working on now. So we're doing the gray around here. We have the little knobs and stuff that are gray. So not too much actually, but we'll have a couple French knots here. So we'll probably start over here and then work our way to these French knots. So that is the plan today. I'm going to have this nearby me so I can see what colors go where and what stitches go where. But let's get going here tonight. All right, getting on down. All right, so this is the first one again. So it's kind of similar. We have the wheel and everything is silver. We don't have a light on this one. But yeah, let's just start here. I think all this on the inside is gold. But yeah, let's get going. So I do have some gray. We have this started from the last one, the last first embroidery here. So I'm going to just get another piece out of here. Oh, Linda, that's great. Linda says that she's so thrilled she gets her first COVID vaccine on Saturday. That's exciting. All right, there is our first piece. Oh, let me see how Facebook people are doing as well. All right. Ooh, Linda's at Martha's Vineyard. Thanks for joining me tonight, you guys. I'm having a really nice time stitching this. Oh, and I did go to this actual sewing machine. This is John's, my husband's great-grandmother's sewing machine that we acquired, and it's in a cabinet upstairs, so it's not the easiest thing to take out. It's screwed in, but in the drawer of the cabinet, I have this written down. So this is the birth of the sewing machine. It was born on April 19th, 1927 in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and it's a Model 66. So that is the history of this sewing machine here, John's great-grandmother's sewing machine. And it's actually kind of interesting. It used to be a treadle machine. At least that's what kind of research we've kind of figured out. So a treadle machine, if you don't know what a treadle sewing machine is, that's the type of sewing machines that have the pedal. So there's no motor. It has that mechanical pedal that, you see in movies and stuff, that people just like move the foot and they're just keeping on pumping that foot. And it's hooked up to a belt that's hooked up to this wheel. And that's what powers a sewing machine. So it doesn't need any electricity. That's called a treadle sewing machine. So we think that this actually used to be a treadle sewing machine. I think I'm going to start with this circle here. We think it used to be a treadle sewing machine. Ours has a motor. But we've learned that during the time when John's great-grandmother would have been using this, that it was common for people with the treadle machines to get them converted to a motor. So we think that it used to actually be a treadle machine with a motor put on later. So someday we would love to convert it back to a treadle. I think we just basically need we need more space for that, I think, more than anything. Because I would love to just do the treadle machine, like have it sitting in the living room and just have a project just sitting there and can work on it whenever. I just think that would be, just the funnest, nicest thing. Let me know if any of you guys have a treadle sewing machine, if you like it. But that's the history of John's sewing machine that this is modeled after. That it used to be the treadle. I just think that's so fun. We actually have we got it at like some antique store at some point, but we have an old base, so like those Singer sewing machine bases. Oh, our Lois says that her mom had one of those, and I wish I had it now. Oh, yes. Oh, Gina says I have my granny's treadle machine in my living room. See, that's what I totally want to do. That'd be just so neat. But we actually have a treadle, we have a base. Robin says, I have 2 treadles and a hand crank one. Fun. Yeah, I literally just need the space. We got a base, there's like cast iron legs, basically, for a treadle sewing machine. Or some treadle, like a Singer. So they're those big metal, like cast iron metal sides, and then that wheel or the foot pedal is in the middle. We actually have a base of all of those that we could convert back. Someone had converted the top, had taken off the top, which would have had a hole for the sewing machine, but they took off the top and put a butcher block thing on there. So we do have that. I would love to convert that back, but I kind of think of it as like a writing desk now, because or like a fidget desk, like a fidget spinner almost. You can use the pedal and stuff still, it just doesn't do anything, but it has like a really nice feel to it. It's kind of like biting into, this is a weird comparison, but it's kind of like biting into like a perfect cookie that has like a little, that bite to it where, you gotta squish your teeth through it and it doesn't just like crumble away like that awesome bite. They talk about it at the Great British Baking Show, the bite. It has that same feeling, the treadle foot. Like you gotta push on it a little bit, but it won't stop right away because it's got momentum. It's kind of fun. But yeah, so I call it the fidget spinner desk. Oh, Linda says that she has 2 treadles. One is, a Singer 66, so that's what this one is. Oh, from 1913. The other one is a Singer from the 1800s. Oh my goodness. You use them in our family room. Ugh, that is just the neatest. Yeah, I would love to have just one set up. And, yeah, it'd be nice. You can actually buy the parts readily easily for it to convert it back to a treadle. Like you can get the belt for it and the hooks to get the belt together to hook the ends of the belt so it's like one big giant circle. You can get those off of Amazon and sewing machine, like sewing parts online probably. But yeah, it would be a fun project. So one day when we're somewhere that has like the space for like a cool display item like that in our living room, without totally overcrowding it. Like it wouldn't work in our living room now. But at that point, then I think I'll try converting it. Maybe we'll make a new top for the base that we have, so it actually has the hole in for the machine. We'll try and convert it back, because I would just love to have that just sitting around and sew some scraps together. That'd be nice. But it works great with the motor too. Don't mind it. So this machine also does not go backwards. It does a straight stitch forward. That's it. Oh, Patricia says that yes, I have my granny's also. I don't have a space to really show it off. It needs a new belt. Yeah, oftentimes if you acquire like an old treadle sewing machine, oftentimes it sounds like you need to get a new belt. But those are available. I'm thinking there is some learning to do with how to hook it all together, I'm thinking. Hey, Deborah, thanks for joining us. Oh, the problem is the height of modern woman is hard on the knees and back. Oh, interesting. If you're over 5'1" or 5'2". Well, I'm not that far over either of those. Oh, Colleen says she's 5'5" and it's hard on her back. Oh, that's so interesting. So, women who were sewing were shorter in the late 1800s? Is that like the deal? Because that'd be kind of fascinating. All right, so I'm kind of done over here. Oh, no, I'm not. I got this whole other thing. I'm like, oh, I'm going to weave in the end, but I have a lot left. I missed a whole freaking half of this wheel. Jeez, that would have been silly to not get. Okay, jeez, I was almost going to get rid of the rest of my thread here. Glad I caught that. Oh, Robin says, if you want to backstitch on the Singer, just put the fabric back in and go over it a second time. Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, because it doesn't go backwards, this sewing machine. So you could just jump back a stitch and then stitch over it again. That's true. I'm going to take that tip. Because I've done a back stitch on the sewing machine by like rotating the machine all the way around and doing one stitch and rotating it, not the machine, the fabric, and rotating it back. That's annoying. So yeah, you're right. I could just kind of lift it up, scooch it back a stitch, and then go over it again. Oh, that makes so much sense. Taking that tip. Yeah, there was, through the first Splendid sampler when we worked on that, I had brought out that machine every once in a while. Well, whenever my 70s sewing machine, my usual sewing machine, which I haven't actually used in a while, but that's the machine that's behind me when we start. Whenever that machine went to the shop or was broken or whatever, then I got the 1929 or 27 this machine out. So we use that for the Splendid Sampler 1 quilt along. It's sometimes, I think that's before I got this machine. Or maybe it was after I got that machine, but I hadn't, fixed this or looked at it quite yet. All right, last little stitch. And I think I will start a new piece of thread over here, just because it's way over here and I don't have enough thread to make it over there. All right, but this little half of the gray is done. So we'll get a new piece of floss for the other side. Ugh, there, get in there. Oh, interesting. So Linda's saying, so this is a style of base, I guess. The coffin top from the 1800s is much easier to use because there's more room for your legs, because the machine doesn't fold down into the cabinet. Oh, the coffin top. So that's like where you see them, where instead of instead of having a hole in the table, they just put a box on top. Is that what a coffin top is? Okay, so I've seen those before. Well, that makes sense. So interesting. So there's just more space underneath. Huh. So that's less harsh on the body. That's interesting. So they had an innovation after the 1800s, and the innovation just made it worse for people. Interesting. It made it store way easier, but harder on the body. All right, let's see. Get another piece of gray out here. All right, the next part, let's just look at our design again here. So we got to do all these little gray bits up here. We got this line here. We got all this down here. And then the French knots. Let's see. I'm trying to think of a good path for this. Oh, all this too. I think I might start at the bottom here. Yeah, I'm going to start right up there. I'm used to going like top down. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to get all of the little backstitched parts of this area, and then I'm going to come back and do these 2 French knots. So I'll go over how to do a French knot while we do those. And then we'll come down here, go around the base, and then do that last little French knot. So I think that's my path. Always kind of like figuring that out. Alright. Thread that needle. So I haven't really talked about this round, but I'm going to show you how I thread my needle. First of all, I didn't do that this time, but I want to start out with ends that aren't really fuzzy. So I'm going to just cut a nice clean end to it. So there are my 2 ends. I like using the pinch method way of working. I'm just looking at my iPad. I have like 5% battery left, so we'll see. I might have to remember where all these colors go, but I think it's pretty obvious. So this is gray down here. Yeah, I think we're fine. I'll get it figured out. So I am actually squishing these the end of the thread. I'm like pinching. So this pinching motion like this, I'm going to pinch, and then I'm going to turn it in a different way, but I think you can see it this way. I'm going to gradually unpinch, and as you unpinch, the little end of the thread comes out, right? From your pinch, you can kind of see it there. So I'm going to face it towards me, and I'm going to unpinch, and then the moment I can see those little threads, I'm going to place my needle on top. You can actually almost just feel it with your needle, like unpinch just a little, and then push your needle down over those where you're pinching. So let's do that again. So I'm pinching. I'm going to unrelease the pinch just a little. I can just start to see it. I'm going to put the needle just push it down through my pinched fingers over those threads, and it should grab those threads. And then once it's far enough through, I'll just pull with the same fingers. So let me know if that makes sense. I'll do it one more time. Okay, I'm going to pinch. The moment I see it, I'm going to just push my needle through my pinched fingers. And there we go. Grab the end and pull it through. Oh, yes, Colleen, I'm actually not... Your comments, Colleen's asking, but you can't see our comments if you lose power. So your comments are not on the iPad. I just have the iPad here for the pattern. So I'll still be able to see your comments. Don't worry. Not getting rid of me. This is like the babiest little back stitch here, or stitch. Teeny tiny. Okay, I'm looping that through. Let's get that tiny baby stitch on the other side of this guy. All right, and then just some short little stitches. This is the, oh gosh, what do they call these again? The pressure, I don't remember the exact name, but it controls the pressure of the foot. So if you twist this down or up, it's going to put more or like the foot of your machine is going to put more or less pressure like on your fabric. So it's going to either push it down or it's going to be a little bit more lax. It kind of depends on the thickness of your fabric, how much you want that to grab. So that's what this little tiny bit that we're stitching right here is. Tension. Oh no, this isn't for the tension. Is that what it's called though? Like the tension for the thread is right here. This is like the tension for the foot. So it'll, like, it's probably actually, mechanically, it's probably actually connected to this rod. So if you push it down, this rod is gonna, I mean, that's just my guess. Be interesting to take a sewing machine like this completely apart and put it back together. Although that would scare me. I'd be afraid to hurt it. Oh yeah, so it controls the foot pressure, yes. Oh, Colleen says that the Mister and I got our Pfizer vaccine yesterday. Oh, that's great. And no, nothing, just like a flu shot. Interesting. Oh, and you didn't have a choice which type of vaccine. So I heard. Oh, the pressure valve. Okay, so Catherine says it's called the pressure valve. So I heard this, but I haven't looked it up, so I don't know if it's true. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't even bring this up. But I've heard that if you're of like Asian descent, that the Moderna is actually has a better working rate than the Pfizer. I'd have to research that more, but I did hear that. So I don't know. I don't know how it gets chosen. It's probably, I mean, at this point, I think it's good for anybody to have any of it, really. So I think that's kind of what the goal is. Kind of curious how long. Well, actually, it's that whole RNA situation. It was actually kind of fascinating. I've been reading a little bit about it, how it functions, and it's pretty fascinating. It's different than a flu vaccine and stuff in the sense of how it functions. It's just like mind-boggling, really. Oh, interesting. Lynn says the Singer company came with a payment plan making owning a sewing machine at home much more affordable. Huh. Oh, Linda's getting her vaccine on Sunday. Man, a lot of people are getting theirs. That's amazing. Oh, Lisa's asking, Alyssa, have you considered making an embroidered needle book for a project? You know, Jen and I were just kind of talking about that, I think, last week, because she has a really pretty embroidered needle book that she has, or that she made. So we were talking like that, you know, so now we have, well, I guess this is next week. Now I'm having the last week of the month be kind of like a free week. And those free weeks are going to be, oh, you guys, I totally went opposite of what I was intending. Dang it. Well, you know what, I'm going to jump back up here. I did one stitch here, I started going down here, but I wanted to do this circle and stuff first, so I'm going to jump back up. But this free week that we have at so just to back up, I have a little schedule this year going. The first week of the month in our Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives here, we're working on the Granny Square quilt. And the second full week, we are working on the Splendid Sampler 2. The third full week, which is this week, is the Embroidery of the Month. And then the last week is going to be a free week. So next week, will be our first free week. And the free week will be like for small little projects, like that needle book thing would be a perfect thing for that. I actually have an idea now that you say that. That would be cute for a needle, but I'll keep that till a little bit later. That has to do with something coming up. But it'd be a good time to finish, work on some unfinished projects. Like, so maybe we'll get some free motion quilting out. I got a lot of that to do this year on some quilts. But yeah, and then it's perfect that week for small projects like a needle minder, or a needle book, I mean. So that would be really, really kind of fun. Oh, and Amy says, a pin cushion. I keep trying. A pin cushion would be fun too. I've never actually made a pin cushion before, so that'd be fun for sure. All right, you guys. Oh, how did you start your thread? It has a loop on it. Oh, Linda, so that's the loop method of starting a thread is what we've been using on this. You can only really do the loop method if you're using an even number of threads. That's kind of why we're using 2 threads on this. I will in detail show you how to do the loop method. I won't rush through it. I'll show you in detail on the next time I switch thread tonight. But yeah, so we've been doing that this round. All right, you guys. I am going to do a French knot here. I'm going to just kind of walk through the process. I think what I'll do is I'll do the process here. I'll finish stitching, and if I have some thread left, I'll kind of show you the 3 things you might be doing wrong if you're having trouble with the French knot. I'll get a new piece of thread and I'll kind of walk you through it. Because I want you guys to feel comfortable doing doing French knots, and I know it's kind of it took me a long time to get good at it, and I know just from hearing from you guys that it can be a tough thing to grasp. And I'm telling you, I've broken it down to that there's 3 issues that you may be doing. So here's how I do a French knot. I come up on one side of the spot. So here's my dot. I'm not coming up right in the middle. I'm coming up on one kind of edge, like the lower right edge of the dot. It's nice to have like a flat surface to work on. So I am going to hold the thread that's connected to the fabric with my left hand, and I'm going to bring my hand with the needle around, and I'm going to point the needle away from the fabric. That is key number 1. You're going to point it away. You do not want it pointed towards your fabric. That's a tendency to do, but you want it away. Yep, Gina, the bobbin plate cover down here, that's going to be gray. I'm going to hop back down there after I get these 2 French knots. All right, so you're pointing away. You kind of got this kind of loop made. You can kind of see that. So holding with the thread, needle pointed away, kind of in the same direction. You're kind of actually pointing towards your left hand. And I'm going to just wrap around twice. So I'm kind of going from the top and around, and then the top and around again. You're going to go around twice. So you got 2 little loops on your needle there. I'm going to hold them with my finger. So I'm kind of like an inch away from the fabric there. I'm going to put my fingers on there. And at that point, I can let go with my left hand because my fingers are kind of keeping those in place. I'm going to kind of move the thread out of my way, just down out of the way. And now I'm going to point the needle towards the fabric. This is the first time I'm pointing towards the fabric. So I'm still holding it with my finger, the threads, but I'm going to point towards the fabric, and I'm going to place the needle on the opposite side of that dot. So again, I'm not going in the same hole. I'm going on the opposite side of the dot. So I'm kind of like crossing over the dot. So there we go. I think you guys can kind of see I'm coming up and going down in a different spot. And I'm only going to put the needle halfway through. Then I'm going to let go with my fingers. I'm still holding the needle, and it's only halfway in, but I've let go of those loops. I'm setting it back down. I'm going to pull those loops so they are tight against the needle and tight against the fabric. So there you go. The loops are right around the needle there. I'm going to actually put my thumb over those loops because I want to hold them in place. And then I'm going to let go and grab the needle from the back and pull that through just slowly until I can feel that all the fabric has gone through. And then I can lift up my thumb. And there is our little French knot. So I went through kind of that quickly, but let's just do that again. Oh, Catherine's saying that she's found that a flat surface really is helpful. Like, you almost do need... You either need your embroidery hoop in a stand or on your lap or on a flat surface, because you really do want both your hands. That's the trick. It's really tough to do while you're holding a hoop and doing it with one hand. Like, it's impossible. I mean, it's a whole lot easier to not do it that way. So I'm going to come up. I have one little French knot. I don't know if you can tell. It kind of crosses over this black part, but I'm going to come up basically on one side again. I'm going to kind of go a little bit faster this time. So I'm coming up on one side of the dot. Again, not right in the middle, one side. I'm going to hold it with my left hand, point away to the needle, or point away from the fabric with my needle. Go around the top once and around the top again. Hold those loops, then shush this out of the way. Point the needle towards the fabric now. Go on the other side of the dot, just halfway. Let go of those loops. Pull those loops so it's tight against the base of the fabric there, the base of the needle and against the fabric. Then I can lift up again, hold those loops in place, and pull on through. And there we go. We got our little French knot crossing over that black part there. All right, so that's our French knot. I'm gonna jump down here and try and finish up the bobbin plate here, and we do have one other French knot here. I'm hoping I have enough thread for all that. I might not. This is not that much thread left, so I might have to get a new piece of thread. I still do want to show you the 3 things you might be doing wrong with a French knot, but I'm going to get a new piece of thread for that. So we'll get to that. But like I said, I bet you there's 3 different things you might be doing, and if you're having any trouble with French knots whatsoever, my guess is you're doing one or more of these 3 things. So we'll go over those. But first, we'll use up this thread. I'm kind of thinking that we might actually be stitching on this a little bit tomorrow. So tomorrow I would like to take the stick and stitch stabilizer off. That's what we've printed our pattern to. So that just comes off with water. So I'll show you how to do that. But before then, I wanted to, finish this, which I'm hoping we can get close to today. But I wanted to stitch the dates in here. Lynn was doing that in the group, and I just think it just looks so cute, so I want to do that too. So that's why I had to look up for sure. I had to get my little date thing out that I keep in my cabinet drawer just to make sure. So I'll put 1927 on this one, like right in here, and then this one is from 1938, so I'll write that in there too, I think. It's a good reminder because I always have to look it up. So now it'll just be on there. All right, I have enough thread for this French knot, and then I'll get some more thread for the base plate here, and then with my excess thread, I'll weave in the end, and then with some excess, I'll show you the couple things you might be doing wrong with the French knot. But I'll do this one normal time, my normal speed. So that's kind of my casual, there we go, that's kind of my casual speed for a French knot. So you can really get going with them once you got it. I can get a couple more stitches out of here. Not all. I won't be able to get around this whole thing, but I can get a few more out. Okay, I think we'll just get the one more here. Yeah, this is enough. This is all I'll be able to do. We'll get the... I lost thread chicken for sure. That's about 6 stitches maybe that I gotta do yet. I did kind of jump around a little bit to do those French knots, but oh well. But yeah, just that tiny little bit left, and then we're done with the gray. But I'll show you those French knot things. Alright, needle minder, trying to use that magnet. Alright, and actually we just have one more piece of that gray, so we use that up just right. Just enough. Alright, so the loop method. So to start out with the loop method, you need a piece. We're doing 2 strands ultimately, so we need to start out with actually just 1 strand. So I've pulled 1 strand out of our 6-strand embroidery floss. So first thing you want to do is cut a piece from that 6-strand embroidery floss that's twice as long as what you're going to stitch with. So originally, before I pulled this out, I like stitching with like about 20 inches, so 18 to 24 inches. So that's about this. So when it's folded in half, it'll be the length that you want. So double. Right now, this is like double the length that I want. So that's when you cut your thread, and then you pull out a single strand. So like we got here, you're gonna meet those ends together. All right. So that makes your 2 strands. By putting the 2 together, you got 2 strands now. So you're gonna hold the side that has the ends, and then the other side will have that loop, or basically the fold. It'll just be the fold of where you put it back on itself there. So you're actually going to thread the side that has the 2 ends. And I'm doing that pinch method again. I didn't snip the ends. I'm hoping that I can do it without snipping the ends and getting nice clean ends. So just unpinch a little, and the moment I see it, I can just push down through my pinched fingers. I think we got it there. Okay, so there we are. We got our end here, and on this side is our little loop. So we're just going to start stitching. So this only works on stitches that you don't have to go back in the same hole that you start. So it's not going to work as well on like lazy daisy stitches where you do have to go back in the same hole. But for a back stitch, it works great. So I'm going to just start my back stitch. So, but I'm not going to pull my thread all the way through. It's about halfway through. And then I'm going to go, finish the back stitch. And now I'm starting to pull my thread through. So here it comes, and I can see that loop on the back there. And when it gets close to pulling all the way through, like right there, I'm going to actually stick the needle in that loop, like so, and then I'm going to pull the rest of the way. So we've basically tacked down our thread with that loop, right? So that's it. There's no knots. There's no weaving in at the beginning. It is just literally, the loop holding down our thread there. So that's it. And we can just start stitching. It's kind of amazing. I freaking love it. So again, it only works if you are doing 2 strands of thread, or 2 to 4 or whatever, like an even number of thread. Which was what we're doing here, because this is a little bit more detailed piece, so we wanted skinnier lines, so we did 2 strands of thread instead of 3, which would have made it a little thicker. The one back side I can see with it is like, let's say we're done stitching right now, so let's say I'm done, but I have gray to go somewhere else, and I didn't want to jump. I wanted to start fresh. If I weave in the end and snip it, now, like let's say this is my next piece of thread. I don't have that loop anymore, right? Because, we used it up already. So if I cut this, then I'm just going to have 2 ends on this side, right? So I can't just do the loop method again. It's not like if you just tied a knot or if you wove in the ends, you could just start with the same piece in the same manner. You would have to get a whole new piece to do the loop method again. So that's the only kind of downside, and that you can only do it with an even number of threads. So like if I'm using 3 strands, I wouldn't use this method. But when I can, it's kind of awesome. Kind of awesome. Oh, Gretchen, you just finished. Gretchen says, "Done. I love these. I love these sewing machines." All right, I have one more. I'm getting a little knot there. I have one more stitch here. I'm going to weave in this end, but instead of cutting it off right away, I'm going to show you that the things you might be doing wrong with the French knot. Just because I do really like going through that. I'm kind of close to the hoop. It's hard to weave in the ends when you're so close to the hoop. I like going through this every time I do French knots on one of these embroidery of the months, just kind of showing how to do like the things that you might be doing wrong. So I'm just gonna snip this off, and I'm gonna tie a knot. I'm not gonna leave these French knots. I'm gonna cut them all out. So I'm not worried about weaving in the ends or anything. I'm just gonna tie a knot. We'll go right down here. So I'm gonna actually draw some dots on here as well, just so you can see where I'm kind of attempting to do these French knots. This is just my water-soluble marker. All right, I'm going to just go in the front so my knot's out of the way here. Okay, so again, so some of the things, I'll do a French knot first, just so you can see it again, but then I'll go through the things that you might be doing wrong for the French knot. So this is how you do it. You come up. I like coming up on one side of the dot, pointing the needle away, around, hold the loops, back on the opposite side of the dot, pull tight, and then put my thumb there, hold it down. Oop, geez. So there's my French knot. So the 3 things you might be doing wrong. The first thing is you might be doing all the other parts right, but the first thing you might be doing wrong is pointing the needle towards the fabric instead of away. So what happens if we point it towards? You might be doing everything else right. You're wrapping around twice. You're holding it there. You're going across the dot. I'm going to pull those loops tight in place. Like so far it seems like you're doing everything right, but I'm going to pull through, and what you're going to end up with is just a straight little stitch. You're not going to end up with a knot at all, because you're not really making a knot. You're just kind of twisting up the thread and pulling it. You're not making like the final like through a hole knot. So you'll just end up with a stitch. So if you have this happening when you're doing French knots, it is because you're pointing towards the fabric to start off instead of away. So someone here mentioned at one point, think of it as if, if you're holding it with your left hand here, you point the needle towards your hand. So you're not pointing away towards the fabric. I like thinking of it as pointing away from the fabric, but I think pointing towards your other hand is a good way of thinking of it too. All right, so that's error number 1. The second thing is, here, let me just unthread this so I can start this again. The second thing you might be doing wrong is this. You're coming up, in the middle of the dot here. So this is the first, I'm coming up in the middle now. I'm not coming on the side. So I'm coming up in the middle, and you're doing everything else right, pointing away, needle pointing away. But now at this point, you are going into the exact same hole. You don't want to do that. You don't want to go in the exact same hole. Let's see if I can get this to work. Because if you go in the exact same hole and you pull a little too hard, you're gonna pop that knot through to the back, and then you got like a knot stuck on in your thread there. So you have the problem of like you're making a hole and you're going right through to the back. So that's why I don't, so that happens because you're going back in the same hole, right? We don't want that. That's why I like starting on one side of the dot and going to the other side, because then I'm kind of crossing over a few pieces of the thread. So let's do that here. So I'm starting on one side, like I'm almost off that dot. I'm on a full, I like starting on the lower right side. And then when I place the needle back, I go on the upper left side. So I'll just show you. You're actually kind of crossing over that dot. So see how far away the thread is from the needle? I want that because I don't want, I don't want this to pop through to the back. So that might be the second error, going into the same hole. The third error, you might be doing both of those things right, but the third error is, and I'm going to try and exaggerate this, but the third error is that you don't hold your threads down. So I might just have gone like this, and I start pulling my thread through, and you are going to just end up with some crazy loopy mess. See? So if you ever have like a messy dot, I mean, that's really exaggerated. Let's do another one that's not quite so exaggerated. And it might happen that, you've pulled the threads here, but then maybe at this point you don't hold, like if you don't hold down these with your thumb, they might kind of get away from you. So you're pulling it through, and let's say it just kind of moves a little bit, and, there. See, now I have like these little kind of circles here. It's kind of like not a perfect knot. It's got these little loops here. So if it's kind of subtle on this one, it's not too bad. But if you end up with, first of all, any messy dot like this, or like this kind of loopy sort of French knot, it's probably because you're not holding down your loops. So like right here is where I would hold down those loops against the fabric while I'm pulling the thread through to avoid it getting away from me. And then you're less likely to have those big loopy French knots that are kind of, see, it's kind of coming apart like so. So that's the third thing you might be doing wrong. All right, so I'm going to cut all this out. But that is my little French knot class here. So let me know if any of those are something that you've done or are currently doing, or just even if you have any trouble with the French knots in general. I'd love to kind of hear your experience with that. I know for me, this one took a while for me to figure out. This one's got that extra little knot on. But then when I realized that, like, oh, it's those three things that I'm doing wrong, or like, figured that out, then it kind of made a whole lot more sense. Last little guy there. All right. So there we are. Those are our French knots. I actually don't think we're going to completely finish today. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to start our gold thread, or our goldenrod thread here, and I'm going to stitch this little area. We got this little area here, and the two sides of the thread here. And we might actually be out of time at that point. And then tomorrow I will go through how to do the chain stitch. So a chain stitch, or a lazy daisy stitch, detached chain stitch is sometimes what they're called. These little hearts that we got going on here, I'll show you how to do that stitch. So that will be the new stitch for tomorrow. Then we'll do the whole threading of this guy. Then I would still tomorrow like to stitch the dates on both of these, and we will still have time to take off the stick and stitch. So we'll be finishing these up tomorrow with the little dates and that extra little stitch. I think that's going to be fun. I'm really happy that we'll be finishing this whole thing, both of them, in the week. So that's nice. You know what? I think this is a little shorter. I think we use this for something else. I think I'm going to save this for the single strand that we'll use to thread this with. So I'm going to set that one to the side. I'm going to start a fresh, long piece here. Again, we've already cut this from working on this piece, but I would cut, a piece twice as long as what I want to work with from my 6 strands. Ooh, this is wanting to... Oop, geez, I think I busted it a little bit. That's fine. There we go. All right. I am going to snip these ends so they're nice and clean. Easier to thread. Boop. Do my little pinch method. All right, what do we got? Oh yeah, this thing down here. Let's start there. Yeah, let's start there. I think I'll actually start on the inside and work my way around. This is kind of supposed to kind of be like the Singer logo. So if you ever notice on the Singer logo on these old machines, and you can see it on the Singer bases of a treadle machine, so like the table base, it has this shape on it that it kind of looks like an ear of corn. This almost looks like a little ear of corn. It's actually a shuttle. And I've seen one of these before. I kind of wish I would have bought it. But they had them at that yard sale where I got this this machine from that I talked about the other day. But before there were bobbins, there were shuttles. So, and by shuttle, I mean like a shuttle you use for weaving almost. It's a little metal piece with some thread wrapped around on the inside, and it goes back and forth. So it like shoots to one side and shoots to the other side, and the top thread is like catching it as it goes by, sort of, I think. So it is called, it's a shuttle. And that's how, before there were bobbins, that's how it used to work. But if you've ever seen one of those and you're like, well, what the heck is that ear of corn doing on there? It's actually a shuttle. Amy says, Alyssa, I have a confession. I've been guilty of all 3 things. All of the errors for the French knots. Oh, Amy says, my mom has some shuttles. Oh, nice. Told her to sell them on Craigslist. Yeah, I would think they'd be kind of popular with collectors. Oh, that's cute. Linda says, I've been using... Oh, that's a good way. If you don't have a French knot, this is a good solution. Linda says that I've been using a bead where French knots go. So now I knew how to do a French knot. Well, that's great. I definitely give this a try, Linda. Let me know, watch this again and let me know how it goes. But putting beads where French knots go sounds amazingly freaking cute. And we should do that sometime. We should do a design that requires that. Oh, you might need a bead. Do you use a beading needle for that? Or maybe beads with the hole big enough that these needles can go through. I have a beading needle, but those are really, really thin for really fine beads. I'm curious what you do for that, because that sounds really fun. Oh, so the other Linda says my old Singer uses a shuttle. Ah, cool. It works just fine. To me, it looks like a bullet. Yeah, it really is. It's like about this big, and it's like pointy. So, it looks like this. It's like an ear of corn. It kind of goes up and down. The shape of it, it's like a long oval kind of. I think it has pointy ends too. But yeah, and if you've seen one in action in the sewing machine, it does actually shift back and forth. It's kind of cool. Man, I'm kind of bummed I didn't get that. I mean, like I needed another freaking sewing machine. That's 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 what stopped me, but it was pretty cool. I think we took a video of it. I should find that again. Gosh, that's got to be hidden on my phone, deep within my phone somewhere. I'm going to look that up. If I can find that video, I'll show you guys that tomorrow. Because I just thought it was so cool. The whole treadle, not treadle, the shuttle. The shuttle versus a bobbin. Oh, Robin says, I like the sound of the shuttle going back and forth. Oh, I didn't even think about that, but now I gotta definitely look up. I know we took a video of it because I wasn't gonna buy it, so I'm like, I gotta at least take a video of this. It's just neat. So that must exist somewhere. It might be on John's phone. Maybe he took the video. I'm gonna look it up. It's just so neat. Oh, yes. So Amy says, I never knew the badge was the shuttle. I always thought it was a building. Nope, it is, as far as I know, actually. But now I'm questioning myself, but I think it's the shuttle, that shape on a Singer machine. Kind of their logo a little bit. You thread the bead and then thread the needle and do the stitch. Okay, so, wait. Oh, okay, I get it. So Linda, I'm reading Linda's comment about doing the bead. So you take the needle off, and then thread the bead onto put the bead onto the thread, and then you put the needle back on, and then you do it. Oh, that makes total freaking sense. That's like totally logical. I would have gotten there after a while of trying, I think, but yeah, that makes total sense. I really want to do that. I gotta do that sometime. That just sounds adorable, using beads instead of French knots. I'm gonna dig through some pattern. Like, I must have a pattern that would be like extra cute for. Maybe we'll have to do that sometime. Replace all the knots with beads. All right, we got this little piece here. I think this is probably how far we're going to get tonight. I'll finish this little... What is this even on the other machine? It's not the... Maybe this is where the bobbin is. I don't quite remember. There's some sort of gear here. Some other sort of tension dial over here. I don't remember. I'll have to look at it again. But it was gold, and it was a dial. I remember that. Gotta have to do something with the bobbin over here, winding a bobbin, I would think. All right, let's get this little circle. Ooh, that's a good idea. Amy says maybe do a snowflake with pearlescent beads. Ugh, that just sounds adorable. And then you could put like extra little beads all over the place for like smaller snowflakes. Oh, that sounds sweet. We should do that. We've kind of been talking... I feel like, a little more often about the idea of beads and doing beads in embroidery, and we did that with the koala, that koala zipper pouch that we made, that we did a giveaway of, that we did some beading in. So, I mean, I did a lot of this when I was like at 14. Did some beading with like tons of like beaded bracelets and all that sort of stuff. So I have oodles of beads from that still. And Jenna, who's, pops in here, and you probably most likely talked to her in some fashion. She's used to work at a bead shop, so she's ingrained in bead land as well. So it would, I don't know. It must be, it's coming to the surface for some reason. So I think we're gonna have to dig into it. We're gonna have to like lean into it a little bit one of these days. I think that'd be a good free week thing to play with. Is doing some bead embroidery. That'd be kind of fun. I feel like I see it a little bit more on Instagram and stuff too. Some little beads. That might be fun. Like fill in a shape or something with beads. Could give that a try. All right, I think that is what we will. Trying to get the needle out of here. This is what we'll have accomplished for the day. Got all the gray done. Worked on those French knots, some of the gold. So tomorrow our main focus will be, our first focus, let's say, we'll get these chain stitches in. We'll quickly do our little threading. Then this guy will be done. We'll see how time is, but I would like to come back and put in the dates on both of these, just because I think that's just going to be adorable. But then, the big thing, though, is I want to take the stick and stitch off. That doesn't take very long. That'll take us about, 20 minutes start to finish. So if we can get the first stuff done in, the first 40 minutes, then we'll be good to go here. So, alrighty, guys. Alright, so there we are. Move the camera. There we are. We're getting there. Such a sweet machine. But yeah, I love hearing about your guys' machines too. This is fun, just hearing about your treadle machines, about your shuttle machines, all of it. It's just kind of neat. I love just digging into the history of these. So this has been this whole entire project with these vintage sewing machines has been really fun, just to dig into the history of these again. So thanks for stitching with me for sure. We'll get going on this again tomorrow. These bundles and the PDFs are still available over at penguinandfish.com, and it's just for this month. This is the embroidery of the month, and there's 1 week left of the month already, which is crazy. It's going to be February soon, and then there'll be a new embroidery of the month. So just one more 8 more days or something to get this. Yeah, more like 10, right? We're probably 10 days out yet. So awesome, you guys. Thank you again for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night.